Hi guys, and welcome back to day 18 of Inktober. So today I actually struggled a little bit with this one. It is actually incredibly common for me to feel like I have to struggle through a piece. It's pretty much almost never where a piece just goes perfectly smooth and I sit down and I create something that just totally meets my expectations and everything goes well. It pretty much almost never happens. So today, it was definitely a little bit of a fight to get it to where I wanted. I was just feeling a little disconnected with it and off my game. And at first, I was feeling a little frustrated by it. And I was feeling like this piece wasn't really going to turn out. And I was feeling kind of displeased at it. But then I reminded myself that the fact that it's so noticeable on this piece, for me that is, me feeling like I was struggling on this piece, is because so far I've been very lucky that I've been able to feel very in control of the pieces. I've actually felt really comfortable working on them. They've really just worked well with me. So it turned into more of a, yes, it was a little bit disconnecting working on this particular piece, and I feel like I wasn't quite getting everything as exactly correct as I wanted, but it was a good reminder that up to this point I have been feeling really good about those pieces, and that's something to be grateful for. And honestly, I've been trying really hard the last few years to live more like that, to live in a more positive way, to not let the negatives be so negative and let the positives be a little bit more important in my life. So even small things like that, I just try to remember, okay, what's the good thing about that? What's the good thing about this negative? So yeah, I think that when I took a moment while I was working on this piece to remind myself that I can make this piece an okay piece, and it's okay to run into a piece that isn't perfectly smooth sailings right from the get-go. I was able to get my head a little bit more into the game, into this piece, and figuring out how to make it the way I wanted it to. So I think just overall, what I feel like I was struggling with is I feel like I was having a hard time getting the lines as precise as I wanted. It just felt like each step that I was doing, it wasn't quite getting it as clean, as smooth of a wash. If I was going for a smooth wash, it felt like everything was just a little bit off. And I think that it was just one of those days where I was just feeling a little bit foggy, and it just wasn't quite clicking, but it was okay because I took that moment, I reanalyzed what I needed to do to make this piece work, to make this piece just a finished piece, and I was able to turn it into something that I do like. It's one of those pieces where in the moment I feel a little bit frustrated by it, but when I look at it the next day, it's not so bad. It's something that I'm actually pretty happy with. So that's something for me to learn from, as always, is just when I look at a piece overly negative throughout the entirety of working on it, it's usually going to turn out worse. If I take a moment to think about how I can fix it, how can I make this a positive, it usually turns itself around, and I'm usually able to make it into a positive experience and a positive piece. It's just all about mindset, really. So I have several critiques for this one, but I think the one most concrete one is the composition. So when I work on my sketches, and I know I talk about this, but I work on it digitally, and then I print it off I just have a little toner printer that's nice and cheap to print these off. But when I print it off, it prints off larger than full size. So I work on a canvas size that's the same size as the finished piece, but when I print it off, it's larger. So I have to go in there and manually tell it to print it at a downscale size of it. And usually it's a little bit bigger anyways, and I just let some of it crop off the edge of the piece. But for this one, it was a little bit bigger than the piece itself, but I centered it rather than pushing it down more. So the issue with that is that in the sketch, her head hits more of the upper third, rule of thirds section there, where it makes a great focal point where it just falls right where it's really pleasing to the eye. But because I printed it larger and I transferred it over so it was much more evenly dispersed with that extra at the top and the bottom, it pushed so that her face and her head was farther above that. It was too close to the top edge of the piece. So if I could have gone back and reanalyzed how I made sure that it was formatted on the page itself, I would have been able to make her hit that nice rule of third mark there, and it would have just felt a lot more comfortable to look at. So that's one of those things that I just need to be a little bit more aware of next time, to make sure that the composition absolutely works when I'm transferring it over, and not just on the sketch itself, but on the final format, that everything just makes sense the way I had planned it. And that is it for today's Inktober. I do have a listing for all of the prints up to this point, so if you'd like to own one of those, there's a link in the description as well as in the end card. I also have the original of this available, and I will have a book of all of my Inktobers all compiled together, so if you wanted to get that, that will be released soon. I will be giving that announcement very, very soon. Anyways, that is about it for today. I do post daily Inktober videos, so I'll be back tomorrow with another one, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.